After my husband passed away, I kept the $28 million inheritance and the penthouse in New York City a secret. That same week, my daughter-in-law yelled, "Now that he's gone, cry, pack your things, and go live on the streets." I simply replied, "Okay." Then I decided to do something. I'm standing in my own living room, and my daughter-in-law just told me to get out. Not suggested, not implied. She looked me dead in the eye 5 days after we buried my husband and said, "Now that he's gone, cry, pack your things, and go live on the streets." I said, "Okay, that's it, just okay." I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I felt my hand tighten around the small brass key in my coat pocket, the one Daniel had pressed into my palm 3 weeks before he died, whispering, "Keep this safe, Maggie. Don't tell anyone." And I kept my face blank. Vanessa blinked. She expected a fight. She wanted me to scream, to beg, to give her something she could use later to paint me as unstable. Robert stood behind her, hands shoved in his pockets, staring at the floor like a child waiting for permission to leave the principal's office. My son, 42 years old, and he couldn't look at me. "Did you hear me?" Vanessa's voice climbed higher. She was wearing black Louboutins, the ones with the red soles. "I know because I saw the credit card statement 2 months ago when I helped Daniel organize his desk. Oh, why $200. My son's wife spent more on shoes than I earned in a month when I worked night shifts at St. Vincent's Hospital for 30 years. "I heard you," I said. The funeral had been that morning. March in White Plains is cold, the kind of cold that seeps through your bones no matter how many layers you wear. I'd stood at the graveside in my old wool coat, the navy one I bought in 1998, and watched them lower Daniel into the ground. 40 years of marriage. 40 years of waking up at 4:30 in the morning to make his coffee before my shift. 40 years of packing his lunches, ironing his shirts, sitting in hospital waiting rooms when his mother had her strokes, holding his hand through his father's Alzheimer's, raising Robert while Daniel built his career. Nobody mentioned any of that at the service. Vanessa had insisted on hiring a professional eulogist because, she said, "We need someone who can speak properly, not just ramble about old stories." The man talked for 12 minutes about Daniel's business acumen. He mispronounced his name twice. Daniel Jacob Hayes, not Hayes. Hayes. I didn't correct him. Now we were back at the house, 847 Maple Avenue, the Victorian I'd scrubbed and maintained for 4 decades, and Vanessa was redecorating the narrative. "This house needs to be sold," she announced to the room. Linda, my sister, sat on the couch nodding. My own sister, 65 years old, and she'd flown in from Ohio not to comfort me, but to position herself for whatever scraps might fall. "The market's good right now," Linda added, as if she knew anything about real estate beyond watching HGTV. "You could get $890,000, maybe more." "Daniel left everything to Robert," Vanessa continued. She was walking now, pacing in front of the fireplace where our wedding photo used to hang. She'd taken it down yesterday, replaced it with some abstract painting she bought at a gallery in Soho. "The will is very clear, and since Robert and I are building our future, we need liquidity. You understand?" I understood plenty. I understood that she'd been planning this since the day Robert brought her home 8 years ago. I understood that my son, who I put through college by selling my mother's jewelry and working double shifts, had chosen this woman over me. I understood that Daniel had warned me quietly over breakfast 6 months ago. "Maggie, if something happens to me, don't trust the paperwork. Wait for Mr. Brennan." Mr. Brennan, Daniel's estate attorney. I hadn't heard from him. Vanessa said he was unavailable and that a junior associate had handled everything. "Where will I go?" I asked. My voice was calm, flat. Vanessa shrugged. "That's not really our problem, is it? You're 68. You must have savings, Social Security. Robert and I have our own family to think about." They didn't have children. Vanessa had been trying for 7 years, which apparently meant monthly spa trips and refusing to see a fertility specialist because the universe will provide when the time is right. Robert finally looked up. "Mom, don't." Vanessa's hand shot out, gripping his arm. Her nails were painted burgundy. I remembered those nails at Christmas, tapping impatiently on the table while I served dinner. She'd asked for organic turkey. I'd cooked organic turkey. She said it was dry. "Your mother is a grown woman. She'll figure it out. We've been more than generous, letting her stay this long after the funeral. 5 days. She called 5 days generous." Linda stood up. "Margaret, you've always been so independent. I'm sure you have a plan." Her smile was tight, fake. "We hadn't been close since 1987, when I married Daniel. and she married a car salesman who left her 3 years later. She'd been bitter ever since. "I'll need a few hours to pack," I said. "Of course," Vanessa said brightly. "Take your time. We'll be out until 6. Robert has a meeting with the estate planner." They left. I heard the front door close, then the electronic beep of the car unlocking. Robert's Audi, leased, $680 a month. I knew because he'd asked to borrow $2,000 last November when he came up short. I gave it to him from my savings. He never paid it back. The house was silent. I stood in the living room, my living room, where I'd hosted Robert's birthday parties, Thanksgiving dinners, where Daniel and I had slow danced on our 20th anniversary because we were too tired to go out, and I looked around. The couch, I'd reupholstered it myself in 2004. The coffee table, Daniel built it in the garage, sanded it for weeks until it was smooth. The curtains, I'd sewn them by hand, matching the fabric to the wallpaper I'd chosen in 1989. Vanessa had already put yellow post-its on half the furniture. Sell. Donate. Trash. My wedding china was in a box by the door, marked Donate. I walked upstairs to the bedroom, our bedroom. The bed was made. I'd made it that morning, habit. But Vanessa had already cleared out Daniel's closet. His clothes were gone. The suits I'd dry cleaned, the ties I'd straightened every Sunday before church, gone. Probably donated to Goodwill before his body was even cold. I opened my own closet. Vanessa had been in here too. 3 of my dresses were missing. The good ones, the ones I wore to Robert's wedding, to Daniel's company dinners, the blue Talbot's dress I'd saved for 2 months to buy. On the bed, there was a stack of papers. I recognized the letterhead, Whitmore and Associates, attorneys at law, not Mr. Brennan's firm. A post-it note on top, in Vanessa's looping handwriting. Sign here, here, and here. Voluntary transfer of property to Robert J. Hayes, witnessed by Linda Schultz. Voluntary. I sat down on the edge of the bed. The mattress dipped in the same spot it had for 20 years, where Daniel used to sit and take off his shoes after work. I could still smell him. Old Spice and the faint scent of the peppermint lozenges he kept in his pocket. My hand went to the key again. Brass, small, with a number stamped on it. 447. Daniel had given it to me in the hospital 3 weeks before the heart attack. He was lucid that day. More lucid than he'd been in months. "Maggie," he'd said, gripping my hand, "this opens a box at Manhattan Trust, 47th Street. You go there. You don't tell Robert. You don't tell anyone. You understand?" I'd nodded. I thought he was confused, medicated, but he made me repeat it. "Say it back to me. Manhattan Trust, 47th Street. Don't tell anyone." He'd relaxed then, closed his eyes. Good girl. 2 days later, he was gone. I looked at the papers on the bed. Voluntary transfer. I could refuse to sign. I could call a lawyer, fight this, but Vanessa had already changed the locks. I saw the new deadbolt on the front door when we came back from the funeral. She'd done it while we were at the cemetery. I picked up the pen. Here's the thing about being 68 and invisible. People underestimate you. They see an old woman in a cheap coat, and they assume you're weak. They assume you'll crumble, that you'll beg, that you have no options. I signed the papers, all 3 pages. My signature was steady. Then I went to the closet and pulled out a small suitcase, the one I'd used for weekend trips to visit Robert at college. I packed 2 pairs of jeans, 3 sweaters, underwear, my nursing shoes. I don't know why, I just couldn't leave them. My Bible, the quilt my mother made me, and the photograph of Daniel and me on our wedding day. The frame was tarnished, but it was mine. In the bathroom, I took my toothbrush, my prescription bottles, blood pressure, cholesterol, and a bar of soap. I left the expensive shampoo Vanessa had told me not to use because it was for guests. Downstairs, I walked through the kitchen one last time. The counters were clean. I'd scrubbed them that morning before the funeral because I couldn't sleep and I needed something to do with my hands. The coffee maker sat in its usual spot. I'd bought it in 2001 with money from my hospital bonus. Vanessa had put a post-it on it. Trash. I picked up my purse from the hook by the door, my old leather purse, cracked at the seams, and I checked inside. Wallet. Keys to a house I no longer owned. The brass key, number 447, tucked into the zippered pocket, and a business card, creased and faded. Donald Brennan, Eskern Estate Planning and Trusts. Daniel had slipped it into my purse 2 months before he died. I'd forgotten about it until now. I left the signed papers on the kitchen table. I didn't leave a note. What would I say? The front door closed behind me with a soft click. I walked down the driveway, suitcase in one hand, purse in the other. purse in. It was 4:30 in the afternoon, and the neighborhood was quiet. Mrs. Chen next door was bringing in her garbage cans. She waved. I waved back. I didn't cry. I didn't look back at the house. I walked 6 blocks to the East Side Motel on Route 119. The man at the desk didn't ask questions. $67 a night, paid in cash. He gave me a key to room 12, second floor. The room smelled like cigarettes and disinfectant. The carpet was brown and stained. There was a double bed with an orange bedspread, a TV bolted to the dresser, and a window that looked out onto the parking lot. I could hear the people next door arguing through the wall. I sat on the bed and set my purse beside me. I didn't unpack. I just sat there staring at the wall, my hand resting on the brass key in my pocket. Vanessa thought she'd won. Linda thought I was pathetic. Robert thought I'd disappear quietly, maybe move into some subsidized senior apartment, fade into the background like old women are supposed to. They didn't know about the key. They didn't know that 48 hours after Daniel died, I'd received a single text message from a blocked number. Mrs. Hayes, do not sign anything until we speak. D. Brennan. I deleted it immediately, afraid Vanessa would see it, but I remembered. I pulled out my phone, an old flip phone because I never saw the point of upgrading, and I stared at Mr. Brennan's business card. It was nearly 5 o'clock. His office was probably closed. I dialed anyway. It rang 3 times. Then a man's voice. Brennan. This is Margaret Hayes, I said. My voice didn't shake. Daniel's widow. I think we need to talk. There was a pause. Then, Mrs. Hayes, I've been waiting for your call. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.? It's important. And please, don't tell anyone you're coming. I won't, I said. Good. Bring the key. He hung up. I sat there in that motel room, holding the phone, my heart pounding for the first time in 5 days. I didn't know what was in that box at Manhattan Trust. I didn't know what Daniel had hidden from me, or why. But I knew one thing. Vanessa had made a mistake. She'd assumed I had nothing. The East Side Motel doesn't serve breakfast. There's a vending machine by the ice dispenser on the first floor. Stale Pop-Tarts for $2. $50. Burnt coffee for $1. 75. I bought both at 6:30 in the morning because I'd been awake since 4, listening to trucks rumble past on Route 119. I hadn't slept in a bed this narrow since nursing school in 1975. At 8:45, I took the bus into Manhattan. 63 minutes, standing room only, squeezed between a teenager with headphones and a man who smelled like wet wool. The girl kept glancing at me like I was taking up her space. I wanted to tell her I'd worked 40-hour weeks on my feet for 30 years, that standing on a bus was nothing. I didn't say anything. Mr. Brennan's office was on 47th Street, 4th floor of a brick building wedged between a jewelry shop and a deli. No elevator. I climbed the stairs slowly, my knees aching. The carpet in the hallway was burgundy and worn thin in the center. The door had frosted glass with gold lettering. Donald P. Brennan, Esquire. I knocked. Come in, Mrs. Hayes. He was younger than I expected, maybe 55, graying at the temples, wearing a navy suit that looked expensive but not showy. His office was small, crammed with filing cabinets and bookshelves. A window overlooked the street covered with half-closed blinds. Please sit. He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. It was cracked, comfortable. I sat. You brought the key? I pulled it from my purse and placed it on the desk between us. He picked it up, turned it over, nodded. Good. Do you know what this opens? A box at Manhattan Trust. That's all Daniel told me. Mr. Brennan leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Hayes, your husband retained my services for 32 years. I handled his estate planning, his business investments, and, toward the end, some very specific instructions regarding asset protection. Asset protection, I repeated. Daniel was a careful man. Careful and, if I'm being honest, secretive. He didn't want certain people to know the full scope of his estate. Certain people, I said. You mean Robert, and others. He opened a drawer and pulled out a manila folder, thick with papers. Did you sign a voluntary property transfer on March 14th? How did you? I have a contact at Whitmore & Associates. They're a cut-rate firm. Vanessa hired them because they don't ask questions. He opened the folder. The document you signed transfers the house at 847 Maple Avenue to your son, free and clear. You waived all claims. Your sister witnessed it. My hands tightened in my lap. I didn't have a choice. Vanessa changed the locks. I know. That's illegal, by the way. You could contest it. He paused. But you won't. Why not? Because you're smarter than they think, and because what Daniel left you makes that house look like pocket change. He slid a single sheet of paper across the desk. This is a summary. The details are in the safe deposit box. But I thought you should see the numbers first. I looked down. Estate of Daniel Jacob Hayes. Confidential summary. Primary assets held in irrevocable trust. Margaret Louise Hayes, sole beneficiary. Investment portfolio. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds. $19, $200. Euro dollars offshore accounts. Cayman, Switzerland. $6, $100. Euro dollars real property. 785 Park Avenue, NYC. Penthouse 18B. 12,400. Euro dollar cash reserves. 2,300. Zero in total estimated value. 28. Zeros and dollars. I stared at the numbers. They didn't make sense. $28 million. Daniel and I had lived in a house worth less than $1 million. We drove a 2011 Honda. We shopped at Stop and Shop. How? My voice came out hoarse. Daniel inherited a stake in his father's manufacturing company in 2003. He sold it quietly, invested aggressively, and kept everything offshore. He didn't want attention. He didn't want Robert to know, or Vanessa. He told me, and I quote, "My son married a vulture. If she finds out, she'll bleed him dry." I couldn't breathe. Why didn't he tell me? Mr. Brennan's expression softened. He tried, multiple times. He said you always refused to talk about money. You told him you didn't care about that stuff, that you trusted him to handle it. So he handled it. And he protected you. I remembered. God, I remembered. Daniel trying to sit me down, pulling out bank statements, and me waving him off. Honey, I don't need to see all that. You've always taken care of us. I thought I was being supportive, trusting. I was an idiot. The penthouse, I said. I didn't know we owned. He bought it 8 years ago. Cash. He was planning to surprise you for your 40th anniversary. Then he got sick. Mr. Brennan closed the folder. Everything is yours, Mrs. Hayes. Legally airtight. Vanessa can't touch it. Robert can't touch it. It's been in an irrevocable trust since 2019, with you as the sole beneficiary. Daniel made sure. I looked at the paper again. $28 million. What do I do? I asked. That's up to you. He stood and handed me a business card, his personal cell number written on the back. But if I may offer advice, don't do anything quickly, and don't tell anyone. Vanessa is the type to lawyer up and make noise. Let her think she won. She kicked me out of my house. You can buy 10 houses now. Let her have that one. He walked me to the door. Go to the bank. Open the box. Read everything Daniel left you, then call me. I took a cab to Manhattan Trust, $43 plus tip. The bank was marble and glass, cold and silent. A woman in a gray suit escorted me to the vault. She didn't ask questions, just checked my ID and the key. Box 447 was small, narrow. Inside, a stack of papers, a USB drive, and a sealed envelope with my name on it in Daniel's handwriting. I opened the envelope first. Maggie, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I'm sorry I made you think we had less than we did. The truth is, I was scared. Scared that if Robert knew, Vanessa would take everything. Scared that you'd think I didn't trust you. I did, I do. I just wanted to protect you from the fight I knew was coming. Everything in this box is yours. The penthouse, the money, all of it. I bought the penthouse because I wanted us to have a place that was just ours. No memories of raising Robert, no ghosts. I wanted to take you there on our anniversary and say, this is our second act, Maggie. Just us. I ran out of time. Don't let them bully you. Don't let Vanessa take what you've earned. You gave me 40 years of love, and I gave you this. Use it however you want. Be free. I love you. Daniel. I sat in that sterile vault room and cried for the first time since he died. By the time I got back to the motel, it was nearly 4 o'clock. I was exhausted, my head spinning with numbers and possibilities. I unlocked the door to room 12 and my phone rang. Robert. Mom, where are you? Why? Vanessa wants the emerald ring. Grandma's ring. She says it's family property and you need to return it. The emerald ring, my mother's engagement ring, given to me when she died in 2001. Worth maybe $500. I'd planned to give it to Robert's future daughter one day, if he ever had one. No, I said. Silence. What? I said no. Mom, you can't just, Vanessa says. I don't care what Vanessa says, it's mine. Jesus, Mom, why are you being so difficult? We gave you time to pack. We've been more than fair. Fair. The word almost made me laugh. Tell Vanessa if she wants the ring, she can come ask me herself. I hung up. 10 minutes later, a text from an unknown number. You have 48 hours to return family property, or we pursue legal action. I deleted it. Then I lay on the narrow bed in room 12, staring at the water-stained ceiling, and I thought about Daniel's letter. Be free. For the first time in 40 years, I smiled. Room 12 became my world for 3 weeks. I learned the rhythm of the place. The housekeeper knocked at 9. The ice machine rattled at all hours. The couple in room 11 fought every Thursday night. I paid in cash, week by week. The desk clerk stopped asking my name. I didn't go to the penthouse. Not yet. I couldn't. The idea of walking into a $12 million apartment while living in a $67 a night motel felt obscene, like trying on someone else's life. Instead, I read everything in the safe deposit box. Investment statements dating back to 2003, offshore account numbers, property deeds, and buried at the bottom, a stack of letters, 23 of them, written by Daniel over 40 years, never sent. The first was dated May 1985. I was 7 months pregnant with Robert. Maggie, you're asleep right now, one hand on your belly. I've been sitting here for an hour, watching you, and I need to write this down, even though I'll probably never give it to you. If something happens to me, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow or drop dead at 50, I need you to know. You are the only person in this world who deserves everything I have. Not my brother, not my parents. You work yourself to exhaustion. You never complain. You never ask for anything. When I got promoted last month and brought home champagne, you cried because you were happy for me, not because you wanted something for yourself. Just happy for me. I don't know how I got this lucky. If I die, promise me you won't let anyone take advantage of you. You're stronger than you think, stronger than I'll ever be. My hands shook. I read it 3 times. The other letters were similar, written after long days, during business trips, once from a hospital bed after his appendectomy in 1998, all saying the same thing in different words. You deserve more. I'm sorry I don't say it enough. He'd known. Even then, he'd known I'd need proof. I folded the letters carefully and put them back in the envelope. Then I called Mr. Brennan. I'm ready, I said. Ready for what? To move forward. The next morning, I took the bus to Manhattan Trust and transferred $5 million into a new personal account. The banker, a woman named Caroline with perfect nails and a polite smile, didn't blink at the amount. Will you need checks, Mrs. Hayes? No, just a debit card. Of course. It'll arrive in 7 to 10 business days. 7 to 10 days. I'd been spending my life in 7 to 10 day increments, waiting for paychecks, waiting for bills to clear, waiting for Daniel to come home from work. Now I had $5 million, and I still had to wait for a debit card. I almost laughed. That afternoon, I stood outside 785 Park Avenue for the first time. The building was limestone and glass with a doorman in a gray uniform. He opened the door before I reached it. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Margaret Hayes. I own 18B. His expression didn't change. Of course, Mrs. Hayes. Welcome home. Home. The elevator was mirrored, silent. It opened directly into the penthouse. No hallway. Just a private vestibule with a single door. I used the key Mr. Brennan had given me. The apartment was empty. Hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, light pouring in from 3 directions. The living room overlooked Central Park. I could see the reservoir, the trees, the joggers below like ants. It smelled like cedar and dust. I walked through slowly. 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a kitchen with marble counters and appliances still wrapped in plastic. Daniel had never furnished it. He'd been waiting for me. In the master bedroom, I found one thing, a framed photograph on the windowsill. Our wedding day, 1983. The same photo I'd packed in my suitcase. He'd had a copy made. I sat on the floor and cried until my ribs ached. That night, back in room 12, my phone rang. Robert. Mom, we need to talk. About what? Vanessa's lawyer sent a letter. About the ring and about other things. They're saying you're hiding assets. My stomach dropped. What? She thinks Dad had money you're not disclosing. She wants to audit the estate. I kept my voice steady. There's nothing to audit. Your father left everything to you. I signed the papers. I know, but Mom, just give her the ring. Please. She's making my life hell. No. Mom, she threw me out, Robert. She called me garbage. And you stood there. Silence. I didn't know she'd... Yes, you did. I hung up. 2 hours later, a text from Vanessa. We know about the bank visit. Don't think you're smart. We have access to everything. But they didn't, because Daniel had made sure. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the dark, listening to the highway, thinking about Vanessa's text. We have access to everything. She was bluffing. She had to be. But the fear was still there, cold and sharp in my chest. At 6 a.m., I called Mr. Brennan. She's threatening an audit, I said. She thinks I'm hiding money. Let her try. Everything is locked in trust. She'd need a court order, and no judge will grant one based on suspicion. He paused. Mrs. Hayes, do you want my advice? Yes. Stop being afraid of her. You have $28 million. She has a leased Audi and a husband she's manipulating. You've already won. Now make her feel it. How? Buy something she cares about. Then take it away. It took me 3 days to find it. Robert and Vanessa lived at the Ashford, a luxury building in downtown White Plains. They rented a 2-bedroom on the top floor, $30,400 a month. I'd seen the lease once, 2 years ago, when Robert asked me to co-sign. I'd refused. Vanessa had called me selfish. The building had been for sale for 6 months. The owner was underwater, desperate. I made an offer through a shell LLC Mr. Brennan set up. $4, $2 million, all cash, close in 2 weeks. They accepted in 48 hours. On June 1st, I became Robert and Vanessa's landlord. They didn't know. The management company handled everything. But I knew. And I waited. June 15th, I sent the first notice. 30 days to vacate. Standard procedure for new ownership. Professional, cold, signed by the property manager. Vanessa called me that night, screaming, "Did you do this?" "Do what?" "Don't play stupid, Margaret. We're being evicted. The building sold and the new owner is restructuring." "This is you. I know it's you." "I don't own any buildings, Vanessa. I live in a motel." "You're lying." "Am I?" "Check the deed. It's public record." She hung up. I sat on the edge of the bed in room 12, my hands shaking, not from fear, from something else, something that felt like power. The karma came faster than I expected. 3 days after the eviction notice, Robert called. His voice was flat, defeated. "I lost my job." "What happened?" "My biggest client went bankrupt. They owed us $60,000. The company's doing layoffs. I'm out." I didn't say anything. "Mom, we're in trouble." Vanessa's freaking out. "We have 30 days to move and I have no income." Can I what? "Lend us money, just until I find something. Please." I thought about the $2,000 he'd borrowed last November, the $800 the year before that, the $200 for the down payment on the Audi. All the times I'd said yes because he was my son, because I wanted to help, because I thought that's what mothers did. "No," I said. "Mom, you have Vanessa. She'll figure it out. She doesn't have money. Her parents cut her off years ago." "Of course they did. Robert, you made your choice. You chose her. You let her throw me out of my home. You stood there and said nothing." "I didn't know what to do." "You could have defended me. You could have said no." "You could have been my son." Silence. Then quietly, "I'm sorry." "I know," I said, "but sorry doesn't pay rent." I hung up. That night, Vanessa sent another text. "You'll regret this." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop, a new one I'd bought at Best Buy for $800 paid in cash, and I searched property listings in Westchester County. I found a small colonial in a decent neighborhood, 3 bedrooms, old but clean. The asking price was $520,000. I made an offer, $505,000, all cash, close in 3 weeks. It was accepted the next day. On June 30th, the day before Robert and Vanessa's eviction, I called him. "There's a house at 429 Willow Street in Tarrytown. It's yours if you want it." "What?" "The house. I bought it. You can live there, rent-free." "Mom, how did you—" "There's one condition." He waited. "Vanessa doesn't come with you." "What?" "Mom, I can't. She's my wife." "Then you're both homeless. Your choice." I hung up. The next morning, I went to the penthouse. I'd been avoiding it, but I couldn't anymore. It was time to stop hiding. I walked through the empty rooms, my footsteps echoing on the hardwood. I stood at the window, looking down at Central Park. And I thought about Daniel, about the life he'd wanted to give me, about the life I'd lived instead. Small, quiet, grateful for scraps. I wasn't that woman anymore. I pulled out my phone and called Mr. Brennan. "I want to sell the house in White Plains, the one Robert took." "Are you sure?" "Yes, and I want the proceeds donated to St. Vincent's Hospital, the Nursing Scholarship Fund." "Done. Anything else?" "Yes," I said. "I need you to prepare divorce papers. For Robert." "Mrs. Hayes, you can't file for—" "Not for me, for him. I want everything ready. Community property split, Custody terms if needed. The works. When he's ready to choose, I want to make it easy. Mr. Brennan was quiet for a moment. Then, "You're not who I expected. Neither am I said. Robert showed up at the motel on July 3rd. I was folding laundry in the bathroom, underwear and t-shirts I'd hand-washed in the sink, when someone knocked. I opened the door. He looked terrible. Unshaven, red-eyed, wearing the same wrinkled polo shirt he'd had on 3 days ago. "Mom," I didn't invite him in. I just stood there holding a damp towel. "Can we talk, please?" I stepped aside. He came in, looked around the tiny room, the sagging bed, the stained carpet, the mini fridge humming in the corner, and his face crumpled. "Jesus, Mom, you've been living here?" "For 3 months. Why didn't you tell me?" I almost laughed. "Tell you what? That your wife threw me out and you let her? I think you knew." He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. "I didn't know it would be like this. I thought, Vanessa said you had savings, that you'd find an apartment. I didn't think—" "You didn't think at all, Robert. You just did what she told you." He looked up at me, and I saw it. The little boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, who cried when I dropped him off at kindergarten, who told me I was his best friend when he was 7. That boy was gone. "She's pregnant," he said. My stomach twisted. "What?" "Vanessa, she's pregnant. 2 months. She told me last week." He wiped his eyes. "She said if I don't fix this, if I don't get us a place to live, she'll leave. She'll take the baby, and I'll never see it." I sat down in the plastic chair by the window. "Did you see a doctor's note?" She showed me the test, 2 pink lines. "Robert," I kept my voice calm, "home pregnancy tests can be faked. You can buy fake ones online for $20. Why would she?" "Because she's desperate, because you lost your job and I evicted you and she knows the walls are closing in." I leaned forward. "When's the last time she let you go to a doctor's appointment with her?" He was quiet. "Robert, when?" "She said she wanted privacy, that it was her body, her choice about who's in the room." Of course she did. I pulled out my phone and called Mr. Brennan. He answered on the second ring. "I need a private investigator. Today. Someone who can verify a pregnancy." "I know someone. Give me 2 hours." I hung up and looked at Robert. "You're going to ask Vanessa to take a blood test at a real clinic today. She won't. Then you have your answer." The investigator's name was Nicole Chen. She met us at a LabCorp in Yonkers at 4 p.m. Robert had called Vanessa, told her they needed a blood test for insurance purposes, for the new apartment I was supposedly helping them get. She believed it, or she was cocky enough to think she could bluff her way through. Vanessa arrived 20 minutes late, wearing yoga pants and oversized sunglasses. She didn't acknowledge me, just walked up to Robert and kissed his cheek. "This is ridiculous," she said. "I already showed you the test. It's just a formality, babe, for the landlord." She sighed, dramatic. "Fine, let's get this over with." Nicole handed her the paperwork. Vanessa filled it out, rolled up her sleeve, didn't even flinch when the needle went in. I watched her the whole time. She smiled at the phlebotomist. Made small talk about the weather. She was good. I'd give her that. "Results in 48 hours, Nicole said. We got them in 24. Nicole called me at noon on July 5th. She's not pregnant. Never was. The HCG levels are 0. I closed my eyes. Send the report to my email and to Robert's. Already done. I hung up and waited. Robert called 30 minutes later. He was crying. She lied. She lied about everything. I know. I confronted her. She said it was a miscarriage, that it happened yesterday, and she didn't want to tell me because I was already stressed. Robert, but the report says she was never pregnant. Not 2 months ago. Not ever. I know. He broke down. Full sobs, the kind that sound like choking. "I chose her over you. I let her destroy you, and she was lying the whole time. I didn't say I told you so. I didn't say anything. I just listened to my son fall apart." Finally, he whispered, "What do I do?" "You leave her." "I can't just—" "Yes, you can. Mr. Brennan has divorce papers ready. You sign them today. Community property split, clean break. I'll pay for the lawyer. You don't owe her anything." "Mom, I don't have anywhere to go." "Yes, you do. 429 Willow Street, Tarrytown. The house I bought. It's yours. You move in tomorrow." Silence. "Why are you doing this?" I thought about the letters Daniel wrote, about the life he wanted to give me, about the second chances we don't always get. "Because you're still my son," I said. And because I loved you before I loved anyone else in this world. But Robert, this is the last time. You choose her again, you walk away from this house, you lie to me one more time. I'm done. Do you understand? Yes. Say it back to me. This is the last time. Good. Now go pack your things. Don't tell Vanessa where you're going. Just leave. That night I sat in the penthouse for the first time without crying. I'd brought a sleeping bag, a pillow, take-out Chinese food. I ate on the floor in the living room, watching the city lights flicker on as the sun set over Central Park. My phone buzzed. A text from Linda. Vanessa called me, said you ruined her marriage, said you're hiding money and she's going to sue. What's going on? I blocked her number. Then I pulled out the emerald ring, my mother's ring, the one Vanessa had demanded, and I took a photo of it. I uploaded the photo to Christie's auction house website. Estate jewelry. Estimated value, $8,500. Proceeds to benefit St. Vincent's Hospital Nursing Scholarship Fund. I hit submit. Then I texted Vanessa the listing link. No message, just the link. 3 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. You bitch. You think you're so smart. Robert's going to come back to me, you'll see. He always does. And when he does, I'm taking everything. I deleted it before she finished. Robert moved into the house on Willow Street on July 6th. I helped him unpack. 3 suitcases, a box of books, his laptop. Everything else he'd owned was still at the Ashford, in the apartment Vanessa refused to leave. She changed the locks, he told me, sitting on the floor of his new empty living room. I went back for my clothes and she'd already changed them. She texted me a list of demands, $50,000 in the divorce settlement, or she'll drag it out for years. I handed him a bottle of water. Let her try. Mr. Brennan says she has no case. You were married 8 years, no kids, no joint assets except credit card debt. She gets half of nothing. She's going to make this hell. Probably. I sat down next to him. But you're not alone this time. He looked at me, really looked at me, and his eyes filled. I'm so sorry, Mom. I know. I don't know how to make this right. You can't, not all the way, but you can start by being honest. With me, with yourself. No more choosing the easy lie over the hard truth. He nodded. What happens now? Now you find a job. You pay your own bills. You learn to stand on your own. I stood up, brushed the dust off my jeans. And you proved to me that you meant what you said, that this is the last time. How long do I have? 6 months. If you're still here in January, still clean, still showing up, we'll talk about what comes next. What if I fail? Then you fail, but you won't do it in my house. Vanessa filed for divorce 3 days later. Not Robert. Vanessa. She claimed emotional abuse, financial manipulation, and, my personal favorite, alienation of affection caused by a controlling, vindictive mother-in-law. Mr. Brennan sent me the filing with a note. She's flailing. This will be fun. It was. Her lawyer was from the same cut-rate firm that had handled the house transfer, Whitmore and Associates. They demanded mediation, claimed Robert had hidden assets, requested full financial disclosure. Mr. Brennan buried them in paperwork. Bank statements showing Robert's $340 checking account balance, credit card debt of $23,000, all in both their names, pay stubs showing he'd been unemployed for 6 weeks. Where's the money? Vanessa's lawyer kept asking. What money? Mr. Brennan replied. Mr. Hayes is living in a rental property owned by a private family trust. He has no assets. They couldn't prove otherwise. Because technically, Robert didn't own the house. I did. Through an LLC they couldn't trace back to me. Vanessa hired a private investigator. He followed Robert for 2 weeks, photographed him grocery shopping, going to job interviews, eating dinner alone. Nothing. She tried to subpoena my bank records. The judge denied it. I wasn't party to the divorce. By mid-August, her lawyer stopped returning calls. On August 22nd, Vanessa signed the papers. No settlement, no alimony. She kept her car, the leased Audi, and half the credit card debt. Robert called me from the courthouse steps. It's over. Good. Come home. I'm making dinner. Dinner was spaghetti and store-bought sauce. I'd never been a great cook. Daniel used to joke that my specialty was edible. But Robert ate 2 plates and said it was the best meal he'd had in months. We sat at the small kitchen table in the Willow Street house, and for the first time in years it felt easy. Quiet. No Vanessa critiquing my cooking or rolling her eyes at my stories. Just my son and me, eating pasta and not talking about anything important. I got a job, Robert said finally. Assistant manager at a construction supply company in Tarrytown. It's not much, $42,000 a year, but it's something. That's good. I start Monday. He pushed his food around his plate. Mom, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Where did you get the money? For this house? I'd been waiting for this question. I took a sip of water, chose my words carefully. Your father left me some things, more than I expected. I used it to make sure you had a second chance. How much? Enough. Mom, Robert, I set down my glass. Right now, you need to focus on your job, your life, proving you can stand on your own. When you've done that, when I'm sure you're solid, then we'll talk about the rest, but not before. He wanted to push. I could see it. But he nodded instead. Okay. Linda called in September. I'd unblocked her number by then, more out of curiosity than forgiveness. Margaret, we need to talk. About what? About Vanessa. She came to my house last week. She said you stole money from Daniel's estate, that you manipulated Robert. She asked me to testify in a lawsuit. And what did you say? Silence. Linda, what did you say? I said I'd think about it. Her voice was small, defensive. Margaret, she offered me $15,000. I'm broke. Tom's not paying child support. The bank is threatening to foreclose. Stop. What? You're my sister, the only family I have left besides Robert. And you were going to testify against me for $15,000 from a woman who's been lying to everyone for years? I didn't say yes, but you didn't say no. I closed my eyes, felt the weight of 40 years of disappointment settle in my chest. Linda, I've spent my entire life helping people who didn't help me back. I'm done. You want money? Get a job. You want family? Start acting like it. Margaret, please. I hung up. I didn't block her again. I just stopped answering. Eventually, she stopped calling. October came. Robert kept his job, paid his bills, started seeing a therapist. His idea, not mine. We had dinner every Sunday. Sometimes at Willow Street, sometimes at a diner in town. We talked about small things, his work, the weather, a movie he'd watched. We didn't talk about Vanessa. We didn't talk about the money. But one Sunday in late October, Robert asked, "Do you ever go back to the old house on Maple Avenue?" "No, I sold it." His head snapped up. "What?" "I sold it in June. Donated the proceeds to St. Vincent's Hospital, the nursing scholarship fund. That house was worth, I know what it was worth, but it wasn't mine anymore. You signed it over to Vanessa and I didn't want it back, so I let it go." He stared at me. "You donated $890,000? I donated what it sold for, which was $920,000 actually. The market was good. Mom, that money could have what? Sat in a bank account, bought me things I don't need." I shook my head. "Robert, I spent 30 years at St. Vincent's. I worked with nurses who couldn't afford to finish school, who took second jobs just to pay tuition. That money will send 20 students through a 4-year program. That matters more than anything I could have bought." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're trying. That's enough for now." In November, I finally moved into the penthouse. Not full time. I still kept room 12 at the motel, paid up through December, just in case. But I brought my things, the quilt, the photograph, Daniel's letters. I hired a decorator, a woman named Patricia who didn't ask questions, just listened when I said, simple, comfortable, nothing flashy. She filled the space with soft couches, warm rugs, bookshelves. It started to feel like a home. I didn't tell Robert, not yet. On Thanksgiving, I cooked dinner at Willow Street. Turkey, mashed potatoes, green beans. Robert brought wine. We sat at the table he'd bought at a second-hand store, and he said grace for the first time since he was a child. "Thank you for this food, for this home, and for second chances. Amen, amen," I echoed. After dinner, we sat on the porch. The air was cold, the sky clear. Robert wrapped himself in a blanket, and I could see his breath in the dim light. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Always. Are you happy?" I thought about it, really thought, about Daniel, about the motel, about the letters and the money and the choices I'd made. "I'm getting there," I said. "Good," he smiled. "You deserve it." On December 15th, 6 months to the day after Robert moved into Willow Street, I invited him to the penthouse. "Get dressed," I said over the phone. "Something nice. Meet me at 785 Park Avenue at 2 o'clock. "Mom, what? Just trust me." He showed up in a suit, the same one he'd worn to Daniel's funeral, but pressed and clean. The doorman let him in without question. The elevator opened directly into the apartment. I was waiting in the living room, standing by the window. Mom, whose place is this? Mine. He looked around, at the furniture, the view, the space. I don't understand. I handed him an envelope. Inside, a copy of Daniel's letter from 1985, the summary of the estate, and a single key. He read in silence. When he finished, his hands were shaking. $28 million, 26 now. I've been busy. You've had this the whole time? Since March? Yes. And you lived in a motel. I needed to see who you'd become without money. Without Vanessa. Without me bailing you out. I took the letter back, folded it carefully. Your father left this to me because he knew I'd protect it. Protect you. Even from yourself. Robert sat down on the couch, head in his hands. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. You just have to keep showing up. Keep being honest. Keep proving that the man you're becoming is worth the second chance you've been given. And if I do? I held up the key. This is to the house on Willow Street. It's yours. Legally, completely yours. No strings. You've earned it. He took the key, stared at it. What about the rest? The rest is mine. For now. Maybe forever. I haven't decided yet. I smiled. But you don't need it, Robert. You never did. You just needed to believe in yourself. He stood up, crossed the room, and hugged me. Not a polite hug, a real one. The kind he used to give me when he was small and scared and needed to know I'd keep him safe. I love you, Mom. I love you too. We stood there for a long time, looking out at the city. The sun was setting, casting gold across the buildings, and Central Park stretched out below us like a promise. What happens now? Robert asked. I thought about Daniel's letters, about the life he'd wanted for me, about the life I was finally starting to build. Now, I said, we figure it out together.